welcome to today's LentL. Have you ever been betrayed by a friend? As we walk through this Easter journey today, we turn to the pivotal moment when Jesus is handed over to the Roman soldiers by Judas. It's in Matthew chapter 26, verses 47 to 56. And I'd like us to read this together, putting ourselves in the picture and thinking it through. While he was speaking, Judas, one of the 12, arrived. With him was a large crowd, armed with swords and clubs sent from the chief priests and the elders of the people. Now the betrayer had arranged a signal with them. "The one I kiss is the man. Arrest him." Going at once to Jesus, Judas said, "Greetings, Rabbi," and kissed him. Jesus replied, "Do what you came for, friend." Then the men stepped forward, seized Jesus, and arrested him. With that, one of Jesus' companions reached for his sword, drew it out, and struck the servant of the high priest, cutting off his ear. "Put your sword back in its place," Jesus said to him, "for all who draw the sword will die by the sword. Do you not think I cannot call on my Father, and he will at once put at my disposal more than 12 legions of angels? But then how would the scriptures be fulfilled that say it must happen in this way?" In that hour, Jesus said to the crowd, "Am I leading a rebellion that you have come out with swords and clubs to capture me? Every day I sat in the temple court teaching, and you did not arrest me. But this has all taken place, that the writings of the prophets might be fulfilled." Then all the disciples deserted him and fled. Thanks be to God for his word today. In this passage of scripture, we see that moment where Judas comes to Jesus, approaches him, kisses him as a signal to the chief priests and elders as to who Jesus is. You see, Jesus, his face may well not have been known by the people, not like in today's society where people are instantly famous on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram or Snapchat or wherever it is. Jesus, his teaching has been proclaimed, but his face isn't necessarily known. Judas is complicit in bringing about Jesus' seeming downfall as he comes and approaches him and gives him a kiss. That moment for us might bring back memories of friends, former friends, perhaps even friends who are now friends again, who have betrayed us, who have brought us moments of pain. For Judas, we don't really know why it was that he saw fit to bring the soldiers to Jesus. It may well have been that he was trying to force Jesus to raise his army and bring about a battle against the Roman soldiers. He might have been trying to provoke him. Although more likely it's because Judas had an issue with finance, an issue with money, and he saw the woman who poured out the perfume over Jesus a few days earlier, and this may well have aroused anger within him. We know that he then went to seek finance to bring Jesus to the chief priests and the elders of the law. And we don't know what his motive was, but we do need to check our own motives in our own friendships and our own relationships as to why we are friends with people. And we need to check others' motives with us. We read of Peter, as we find out that it is in the book of John, who whips out a sword and chops a servant's ear off, a soldier's ear off. And we see Jesus rebuke him. We see that Jesus says, "I could have called down a legion of angels if I didn't want this to happen. But I'm again submitting myself into God's will." How clear must Jesus have been about God's will to allow that to happen and to heal the soldier's ear, as we see in the book of John. Jesus must have been so single-minded about seeing the plans and purposes of God come to pass that he was able to allow this to happen rather than calling down angels. And I wonder how we are with the moments of disappointment and heartache and questioning that we have. Do we rail against that and seek to bring our own end to a situation? Or are we able to allow God to do what he wants? And then we read at the end of this that all the disciples deserted Jesus and fled. How lonely must Jesus then have been to see his disciples, when he is in his most difficult moment, desert him, abandon him, leave him. And he's only got the Father to rely on. On Sunday we're going to be thinking about what that feels like, to be abandoned by even the Father, as we read a little later. So today, why don't we focus for a few minutes on our friends, praying for them, on our obedience to Christ, and the fact that Jesus was deserted by his disciples, and thank God that he didn't abandon his mission as we serve him today. Thank you for joining with us. We hope to see you tomorrow as we continue in this LentL series. God bless.